Foley and Catherine Legg. We're here to take you through the next hour and 45 minutes. That's the time limit on this. The IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda. Guys, a pleasure to spend some time with you in the PA booth.
Thank you. Yeah, an hour and 45 minutes, huh? Is that what you signed up for, Spence?
Is there a bathroom break in the middle?
There's a bathroom.
Okay,
We'll find
excellent.
One. We'll find one. So what we've got is right now we have the cars are out, getting ready. They do a 1-2 laps, I believe, for this to get ready to go. We are...
Yep, they need to get some heat in those Continental tires.
Yes.
And so we were looking at it, and there's actually two different kinds of classes in
there. Yes.
Yes, so we've got the LMP3 cars, which are the cars that are the quickest. We've got a bigger engine, and they're a little bit more downforce for the cars. And so they're going to be the ones that are leading us to the green here. The second class is going to be the Mazda Prototype Challenge cars, which have been racing here in IMSA for quite some time. They're a fantastic car. A lot of drivers have gotten their start in these cars, and they're about 3-4 seconds slower based on their engine displacement and the chassis, but certainly we've got good competition going both directions, you know, front and the back of the grid. This should be a fun day. Right now, as Catherine was saying, these guys are trying to get the cars up to temp. Catherine, I'm not really a prototype guy, more of a GT guy. Or gal. Guy is gender generic, of course.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A lot of this is trying to get the tires up to temp so they don't bottom out in turn one, correct?
Right, and the brakes. So it's all about getting temp in everything that you can, so that when you get to turn one, you can be going flat out straight away. And the person who does that the best is going to be the person who has the best start. It's the same as in a GT car. You get temperature in the brakes a little bit differently, and in the tires a little bit differently. You know, they don't have ABS like we do and things like that. So, but the technique is pretty similar.
Yeah, you see the people weaving back and forth. Some of the drivers, you know, some people do it to try to clean off the tires. Some people do it to warm up the tires. I usually just do it because the guy in front of me is doing it. So,
and you have to do it more aggressively than the person in front, just to prove your manliness or womanliness.
Yeah,
or
actually.
whatever.
But that's the plan here. But I think we have 2 pace laps. It gives them an extra lap to get the things up to temp and the machines, and I think we should be coming back to the green this time. I see the lights are out in the pace car. So
yeah, and I think a lot of these guys, so whoever qualified the car has to start the race, and a lot of these guys don't have the experience. You know, they're either silver or bronze rated drivers, and so I think the 2 laps to get up to speed is kind of vital for them, getting their eye in and getting the heat and everything in, like we said.
Yeah, and speaking of which, you mentioned that there's a couple of drivers out there that don't have the experience. This is one of the feeder series into the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Challenge. Some of these drivers are new to racing, haven't been racing a lot, and they are supported by co-drivers. We're going to see another driver get in this car at some point during the race. There's a minimum mandatory 4-minute pit stop that everyone has to take.
And a minimum drive time.
Yeah, minimum drive time of 40 minutes. So the stories we're going to be watching today are going to try to see some of these faster drivers, some of the drivers with more experience. We've got Jan Halen, Robbie Foley, Mamo Gidley is a name that's going to be familiar to a lot of people.
Corey
Lewis, Sean Rahal. They're not starting near the front, but they're all going to have their eyes on the front of the field when they get in the car. So we're going to be interested to see how their co-drivers do. Are they going to put them in a position where they're going to have to work hard, or are they going to be relatively ready to go? And for the drivers that do have to come through the field, you know, they're going to have to use a little bit of some of the fenders on these machines.
It will depend on yellows as well, Spence, like it does with us. You know, you tend to get the slower drive time done first, so that if there is a yellow flag, then it bunches the field back up, and then the fast guys can kind of have at it at the end.
Chris Wright, your pole sitter, he's going to be leading us to the green. Probably going to be on the left side here, and so see
Will Owens on the other on the outside, and then the points leader, McCusker is on the second row.
And beautifully lined up here, 2x2. That won't last long.
You have some really good teams in this series as well. That surprised me. You know, you've got people like ESM and Polestar and Performance Tech that have done really high-level racing. So this is, by all intents and purposes, a really competitive, very professional series.
All right, Chris Wright onto the front straight with the field in tow. You're watching the starter tap our honorary guest green flag waiver. The green's out. And great jump by Chris. Chris easily leads into P1. Turn 1.
So, did we reckon there's going to be any carnage going on in turn 1, 2?
Well, and I was about to ask you to, because I know, having been here before, that turn 1 is historically on the first lap nasty.
Turn 1 is tough here. It's hard to see, and it's a little bit off camber in spots. But turn 5 is usually action central, and they're
nice
proving me right here. They're already looking pretty wide.
outside move for P2 in the ASM car.
And it's interesting, some of the quicker guys in the IMSA Prototype Challenge class are actually going to be a little faster than some of the slower drivers, some of the beginner drivers in the LMP3 class. So we'll see the front of that field getting kind of stuck behind the front of the LMP, or the back of the LMP3 field.
Yeah, and as you said earlier, there's probably only about a 3-second difference, but there's a big difference in engine. You know, the LMP3 cars have the Nismo 5-liter naturally aspirated engine, which puts off about 420 horsepower. And the Mazda only has a 2-liter engine, so that's a big difference. And you can see their closed cockpit. You can tell the difference because it's closed cockpit for the LMP3 and then open cockpit for the others.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like a good battle here for third, I think that is. We got the 2 yellow cars that were pretty much nose to tail coming out of turn 10. And we got a fender on the racetrack.
Are they going to go yellow and clean that up? NASCAR.
Where is that? It's hard to see.
I'll find out where it is.
He's already got a bit of a lead.
Yes,
yeah,
actually.
That's a good opening lap. You talked about getting those tires warm. I think we're seeing that he definitely did a good job of that.
And that's Chris Wright. Where is Chris Wright from? Does anybody know?
I don't know, but I know he's racing this weekend also in the IMSA GT3 Challenge in the Porsches that he ran earlier this morning.
Chris is from Wexford, Pennsylvania.
Well, he's got the experience on the track as well, and that counts for a lot. You know, if you get to go out there and see what the conditions are like, no matter what different kind of car it is, then that can help tremendously. There's a lot of rear brake lockup going on.
Yeah.
Now, these cars, do we know, are they heavier than most, or is there, is the weight compared to what you all drive? I'm kind of throwing back to.
Prototype cars tend to be lighter than like a traditional GT car.
Right.
They're built lighter. There will be a discrepancy in the weight between like the Norma, the Ligier, and the Riley. I'm not sure how, but obviously there's a difference between the 3 in the downforce levels and how they handle as well. And actually, Spence, you were telling me earlier that the Ligier has a little bit more downforce.
Yeah, the guys running the Ligiers are kind of complaining that they don't have the straightaway speed that some of the Normas do. But when they come to a place like Barber, where it's majority of the corners, the downforce that actually slows them in the straightaways works out to their advantage. So we're kind of looking forward to coming here. Now, we are in a 4-course yellow. I got a shot of that fender, and it's just on the entry to turn 8 on the left, and that's on the side of the track the cars run, so I think they want to slow everything down, go get it cleaned up, and this is actually playing into the hands of some of the drivers who are just itching to get in these cars and hoping that the lead won't be too far away when they do.
Right, there won't be a lap down, which is important. You know, as long as you're on the lead lap and you can get bunched up, then that makes all the difference. So I think it will definitely make it a more interesting race. It's the later yellows that count more so than the earlier ones in terms of getting those quick guys in and getting them, you know, all bunched up so they can go race.
Well, it's a big thrill to sit here with you all and have you here. What has brought you to Barber this weekend?
I am coaching 2 drivers in the IMSA GT3 Challenge.
Okay.
The drivers are Rob Foley, and he ended up finishing 4th today in his class. He's running in the Gold Cup, so he's not in the fastest car.
Right.
And he's new to this series and did a really good job. He had an early race spin and recovered well, only to spin again, but got it going again and was able to finish 4th. And then Tom Kerr, who was also out there and doing a good job. It's also his first time here and in this series. So we had a good day today, and both cars came home clean. And I think tomorrow, it's looking like it's going to rain.
Yeah.
So that changes everything. So we'll have a whole different set of things to talk about for tomorrow. But working with TPC Racing, and the guys are doing a fantastic job.
Especially when you don't have the experience, and you know, the rain comes, and it's much more tricky to teach somebody how to drive in the rain when they haven't got the experience even in the dry. You know, it adds an extra element and can make the races more interesting, though.
Well, as we saw there, they picked up the piece on the track, and so we are looking at the flag stand. And usually there used to be that they would go 2 laps. I don't know what they're going to be doing that here.
That is a piece off the 44 car. Did
yes.
that say 44 car?
Yeah, we didn't see what actually caused it, but it's definitely missing that right front fender.
Gary Gibson. So yeah, he obviously had a little bit of a coming together. I think that was where they all bunched up at the start, but it doesn't seem to be affecting him very much, so it can't be that important.
Yeah, all those hours and hours in the wind tunnel.
I was about to ask you.
You miss one fender and suddenly it's things still goes okay. It makes you wonder.
They are still under full
Right,
course.
so
Yeah, when we see those lights go out on the safety car, that means that they're getting ready to go back to green. Right. And when you're under the safety car, you've just got all that heat into the brakes and the tires and everything, and now your sole job in life is to A, not crash on the safety car, because that's very embarrassing, and B, keep all that heat in the tires and in the brakes, because when you go back to green, it's going to be like starting the race all over again, and you want to be able to hit turn 1 as fast as possible.
Well, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at them taking now. It seems like we had these cars here last year, but they've changed how the makeup. I see so many more of the cars. This have to be. I think we just had the Le Mans, the LM class last year, but I'm not 100% sure of the prototypes. But there are far more of them than there were last year.
I want to say last year was the first year for the LMP3 car here. Right. And I want to see the field was much smaller than it is now. It was mostly the MPC cars. Right. So yeah, it's good to see this field getting healthy. Their first race was actually during the Roar at Daytona. Right. So when we all came down to test cars, they were actually there to race. So that really kind of puts the pressure on you to get your season sorted and together, get your testing out of the way. And you know, first weekend of January is your first race, and that counts towards points.
That's amazing.
Yep. Yeah, what a great feeder series and a great place to learn as well. Like if you want to go to IMSA and you want to go prototype racing, then there is no better place to cut your teeth, as they say, as doing something like this, because the cars are like genuinely really, really well put together. You can learn your trade. You know, you learn all the basics of the engineering and what you need from the car by doing this in a relatively competitive, but you know, you've only got prototypes out there. You don't have all the different GT classes and everything that you have to worry about as well. So it takes that element away from it, so you can really kind of focus on learning. The pace car lights are out, by the way. They are going to go green.
Yeah, everyone's looking pretty racy coming through 14. So I guess
now we talk. Everybody comes in. I'm gonna, without surprising you, everybody talks about the beauty here at the course, the race course. But as far as one of the racetracks in the United States, and you know, is this one of the ones you really like? Is the center field coming down to get to the green flag again?
That was a appalling start.
Yeah, we had a bad start, checked everyone up, but now it looks like the ESM car, the 3 car, was actually running P2. He started 4th, so he had a good start, but for whatever reason.
Still some rear brake locking down.
Yeah, now he's going to get shuffled back to 4th. It's tough when someone balks you at the start, and the whole field is on the gas, and you have to check up for whatever reason. It's easy to go from 2nd to 4th, 5th, 6th, and you can see it's not getting any better for the 3 car.
And technically, you're not allowed to do that. Like, you're not allowed to brake check and then go before the start. That is, you know, you could get a penalty for that. But you know, how do you prove it? You're going into the last corner. You're going to brake for the last corner. Where is the acceleration zone?
Ambitious behind you and go before it was time, and then they checked up, and it wasn't even the leader's fault.
Exactly.
But the leader did a good job. I mean, the leader started. Came out of turn 15 first, went into turn 1 first, still has the lead, so a mission accomplished here for Chris Wright.
And I know it is, we've seen some wild things here last year in the Mazda MX-5 class. We actually had a Miata flipper before he got to the flag tower.
Wow, how did that happen?
That's a great question. And that was the one we asked.
Was he helped, do you think? Oh, he was, okay. Yeah, because that makes sense. Otherwise, they don't know how you would flip on the straightaway.
Chris Wright, last time we went green at the start, he had a nice opening lap with the colder tires, and once again, he's got a pretty decent, probably 5-6 car length lead here coming back to the stripe after the restart.
Wow.
Did that happen?
So, fun fact here, the 40 car with the Grant brothers driving is run by Polestar. And Polestar was the team that ran me when I first came to the States in the Atlantic Series way back in 2005. Just showing my age a little bit now, but best team ever. Love those guys. They taught me everything I know about racing, which is considerably more than I let on. And no, really, really good
team.
A
little argy-bargy. Sorry about that, Kelly. I didn't mean to interrupt. We had the, it's hard to see with the car number, the 51. That's my buddy's car that my buddy Sean Rahal is going to be getting into later. Yep. So that's
I see him down there actually wearing the Delta Wing suit, the old Delta Wing suit. He was my teammate 2 years ago.
It's Rob Hodes, and he was going to pass one of the Grants there, and he gave a little squeeze. Saw a tiny little piece of bodywork flying off there as he moved into the grass. mowed a little bit of the lawn, but it seems like they're both going okay. But yeah, he might have some words after that one.
Yeah, see, Sean's down there. He hasn't even noticed that that's going on. He's just like super chill and laid back.
Yeah, he's on his phone. He's doing Instagram updates and all that stuff.
No, see, I'm not that kind of driver, but I don't know what you are like, but if somebody else is in my car, I am on the pit stand and I'm watching everything, to my detriment a lot of times, because you go to like a 12-hour race or a 24-hour race, and you need to be able to relax and go back to the trailer and chill out, whereas I'm like intently watching all the times and the screens and everything, and I need to be able to take a step back and be more relaxed about it, but I just can't seem to get over that.
Last lap, Chris Wright sets the fastest race lap at a 1:22.6, and that's the second best. That's the best race lap by almost half a second right now. So he's definitely have a car that's working, and it's probably why I got the pole.
Right, and they're actually only like 13 seconds off of an IndyCar time around here.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, they're fast little race cars. They're proper race cars. They look like they're a lot of fun to drive. You hear that they're a lot of fun to drive. I would love to get in one and see what it was all about. It's a physical track here too. Like even in one of those.
Here's the replay side by side. And he's not quite clear. You know, you got to wait till the spotter yells clear before you can move back in the line. And it was up to the bumper. But yeah, again, probably the Grants aren't going to be happy with that. But it looks like everyone got away with it. Might be a loose piece on the right rear of the 51 car.
Well, once again, we're being led through the race with Spencer Pumpelly and Catherine Legg. And folks, are so glad to have you here to give us your insight into the racing in this series.
Yeah, it's a beautiful racetrack here, and Spence and I are both from Atlanta, so it's not far for us to take the couple of hour trip over.
This place, being here in the spring for this event, it's got to invoke comparisons to Augusta.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And this is the Augusta of car racing.
Yeah, good point.
The beauty of Augusta is not only is it a beautiful golf course, but you look behind a bathroom and it's absolutely perfectly manicured.
Yes.
The spot that no one's even going to see. You come here, it's the same thing. It's not just the racetrack that's beautiful. It's every inch of this facility. It's not only it's really pretty, the drivers love racing here, but it's absolutely fan-friendly. And this is one of the best places to come watch a race, which is one of the reasons why we as drivers like to come here, because we like when people can come out and enjoy themselves, and it's fun having people come watch this race.
Well, and I like the fact that the fans here can go and catch the free tram and go all the way around the course. I don't get to go over and watch in turn 2 and 3, but if I would love to sit there all day for a race and watch just that one turn, and then go to the back stretch.
Yeah.
So
for fans, not only is it immaculate, but it's also a place where you can see a lot of the racetrack at one time. So even if you don't have access to the screens or what have you, you can see 4 or 5 different corners without having to move around as well. So you can go to 2 or 3 different places on the track, and then you've seen the whole track and you've seen all the overtaking maneuvers. They've got lots of hairpins here, so you see a lot of racing action. And you've got the museum, which I've never been to, by the way, and desperately want to go over and see.
Please. And have you taken the trip around the track just to see the artwork?
Yeah, well, when I was here in IndyCar, I raced here in 2012 in IndyCar, and we did the track walk, and I saw the giant spider, and it freaked me out.
So this battle won't end. The Grants against the 51 car, the Sean Rahal and friends. They're still side by side going back and forth. We have a really good. We got a spinner.
He just went in a little bit hot, lost the rear end down in 5, yeah.
Charlotte's Web, as they inaugurated it when they first opened. And yes, I think one of the things about this is that from the first day I was here, I was here for the very first race they did, which was the IMSA Grand Am race, that I've always been amazed how beautiful and how well manicured the place is. And so you're absolutely right. And they've all,
It is. I need some help with my yard, so I think whoever does this place, how do I do that?
Yeah, I was just wondering how many people it takes to keep this place looking as good as it does. Like, I'm guessing it's more than 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think so.
Fantastic job for everyone involved.
And I would say, Catherine, you have to go over and see the museum. They have some wonderful motorcycles. They actually have a whole collection of Lotus race cars as well. And I don't know if you'd be as impressed as I was, but I've learned more about motorcycles having come here for 14 years than I thought I'd ever know. And I had a motorcycle. I had 2.
I want to learn how to ride one. I've been having this discussion. So I went to Road Atlanta last weekend for the Moto America race.
Right.
And I did a 2-up ride. Scary as it was awesome. and I vowed to learn how to ride one. I have not yet told my parents; they will not be happy. But I've never ridden a motorcycle. I've ridden mopeds and all sorts of things without gears, but I would have no idea jumping on one, and it fascinates me. So that is next on the list.
I think you would find how much more efficient you would be doing it than most people.
I don't know about that.
No, because you drive and you ride around with your head on a swivel already, and you know how the gears work and everything, and that's the key that folks usually struggle with. All right, looking up at the Jumbotron, we're seeing the replay.
Just goes in a little bit too hot, I think. Loses the rear, a bit wide. So what happens when the races get going is you get marbles and you get dirt on the outside of the track. And as soon as you outbrake yourself a little bit, and whoa, what happened there? Curve?
Looks like he just got loose over the crest of the hill coming out of 13 and lost the rear. Lucky not to hit anything, though.
Yeah.
He basically slid right down the racetrack. Even though he was going sideways, he was going where the car needed to go to avoid the wall. I was talking to a couple of drivers before the race, and the prediction was that there would be a good amount of yellows here. Now, we've seen a lot of carnage. We've seen cars spin.
Yeah.
We've seen parts fly off. We've even seen the yellow for the debris on the track, but haven't really seen anyone
touch wood
touch
so
something.
far.
Yeah, so let's knock on something.
Yes.
So these Continental tires, are they the same compound and everything that we use in IMSA? They're very similar to the like LMP2 tires, or?
I would assume that they are. Because you said in IMSA, and I would think based on which track you're at, but if there were certain conditions.
I mean, I would think that they wouldn't make so many different sets for all these different classes. You would think the LMP2 tires would work for these. I don't know how they degrade, whether they're like really good for a lap and then they fall off, or.
From talking to some of the drivers today, and it was kind of one of my questions too, how are the tires? Can you go the full race? And they all said they could easily get through the first hour and past the pit stop window, but making it all the way to the end would be tough. Okay, now we've got one in the gravel, as predicted.
And driving
number
the 19 car is Mr. B. Baker.
Brad Baker.
Brad is driving that car. That's the Jan Halen car. Now, Jan has driven everything from champ car to he's really, really talented guy. He's very experienced and in a multitude of different things. So I think that's gonna worry him a little bit unless they can. Oh, just outbraked himself going in there.
Yeah, it looks like he got through turn 7 okay. And then as he came over the curb, he may have come out of the brake pedal a little too much to negotiate the curb and leaving too much braking to do later, but locked up all 4 tires and just went off straight. And
on the inside as well, he looked like he was way more on the inside than normal. So.
Right, and now he's definitely beat. So the yellow's out. We're going to go get him.
I wonder if he'll go a lap down. I would assume so. So that's going to give Jan some hard work to do.
When you all are driving at this track and that you just brought up, turns 8, going over that into a chicane and going down towards the museum, I would certainly believe you have a feel, but as you come over that hill, you don't know what's below you.
No, you just don't know. You're relying on the flaggers to tell you if there's any incident down there. And of course, your crew will be watching the feed. They'll tell you things as well. But no, you need to really get a lot of laps here to get a sense of what you're going to see when you break through that blind zone.
Okay.
The wall is there on the right, kind of blocks your vision into the corner, and then of course the track drops down hill into turn 9. So it's tough to get an idea of where to place the car and how much speed you can carry because you don't have the visual targets that you normally use when you can see. So it just takes a decent amount of laps here, and a lot of these drivers don't have the experience that someone like you or me who've been coming here for 14 years will have. And unfortunately now with the gravel trap there, they've got to go get that car.
Right.
Yeah, vision is everything. There are a lot of tracks like that you can't see, and I love those corners, those blind corners, because it adds another element to it. But the more experience you have, the more everything kind of slows down and the more relaxed you are driving. And a lot of these guys are still like driving by the seat of their pants, because it's still also new to them. So a corner like that is much more challenging than a corner you can see through, like a hairpin, like a turn 5, for example.
Do you find that the people, and Spencer, you're talking about coaching, that people have to get away from the way they drive the car on the street because you've got to brake, you have to hit the brakes, and then the key is how fast do you accelerate, or how soon do you accelerate into a turn, and I would imagine that's the challenge at Charlotte's Web or turn 5.
Yeah, the braking technique in racing is completely opposite of what people usually do in the straight. Usually people hit the brakes lightly, and as they get slower, hit them a little harder, and a little harder, and a little harder. Whereas in racing, you want to hit it hardest initially.
Right.
Because that's when these cars have the most downforce. And of course, you're not going to instantly stop the tires and wheels.
Right.
It doesn't take long, but instantly, when you first hit that pedal, you can mash on it, which if you try it on the street, you're certainly not going to have your passengers coming back to ride with you again. It doesn't really work out very well.
We're talking like 1,000 pounds of pressure.
Sure.
I mean, it's not just like you hit it hard, you hit it really hard.
Well, I think that the one thing that people learn who have not ridden in a race car is with a driver who knows what they're doing is that it is almost very violent inside the race car. You're thrown around, you're pitched back and forth because there is that.
Yeah, you get beaten up, you're hitting the curbs, you're going over the bumps, I think it's very... Spencer's taking selfies right there.
Sorry.
No, you're good. He actually got going.
I think I actually follow you on Facebook, so
Do you follow us on Twitter and Instagram as well? Should we give ourselves a plug here?
We should,
yeah.
At Spencer Pumpelly.
And
you
should definitely follow Spence because he can be quite witty sometimes.
Quite witty.
So he got going under his own esteem, and I think he only went 1 lap down, which is actually quite impressive. So next time there's a yellow, I don't know how the rules work in this particular class, but normally you would be able to actually get that lap back, and then you'd be good to go again. So it might not have cost him so much. It all depends on luck and whether there's another full course yellow, and whether that comes when you're going to do a pit stop, which, by the way, 4 minutes. So you have to stop in the pits for 4 minutes. Is that from pit entry to pit exit, or is that actual stop time?
I don't know.
No, that's pit entry to pit exit. So when the pit stop comes, which is actually going to be pretty soon, this pit window is going to open, and these drivers are going to be thinking about doing the switch. When you come on pit road, either have a GPS timer, or the driver simply gets in the radio and says now.
Okay.
And the pit timer starts counting down, and then you just have a point where, say it's 15 seconds before it gets to 0, you go, and then you kind of monitor all the way out, and you try to make it as close to 4 minutes as possible. Now, if you're over, if it's 4 minutes and a second, 4 minutes and 2 seconds, you're going to lose that second or two. If you're under, then you got to come back down pit road to serve that extra time, which no matter what, is about 30, 35 seconds of lost track time. So they're going to err on the side of caution, but the more caution they use, the more track time they use.
So is it like when you latch pit lane speed limiter, there's a timer that clicks, and then you'll see a green light flash at you when you're good to cross over the exit pit lane again?
Every team has their own plan and way of doing it, but it's either, sometimes the pit speed limiter, when you click it on, that'll start a clock. But the problem there is I like to be on the pit speed limiter before
you get to pit speed.
So, but again, with the 4 minute minimum time on and off pit road isn't as important as far as racing.
Yeah, but it takes you so much. Like for us to make up a second or two is not easy. I mean, we're fighting for 10th.
But keep in mind, you're going to be sitting there for 4 minutes anyway. So trying to get that extra time on the pit road is, I guess to the stripe at pit in is important. But if you're slow under pit speed on the way in, it doesn't really hurt you.
So you have to fuel with the drive out of the car.
Yes. Yeah. So what the guys were saying that I talked to this morning, the cars are actually pretty heavy with a full fuel load to get the the hour that they need. They're carrying a lot more fuel than they would normally for the 45-minute race. So they're actually sometimes faster later in the stint on the worn tires with the lighter fuel loads, and there's a big difference in how the car feels and how it handles light to full.
Right. Which means you have to set it up differently for qualifying as opposed to a race as well, because when you're qualifying with a light load, I assume you qualify with a light load, you don't have to start the race on, qualify on with it heavy, I would think.
Yeah,
right?
and that's going to affect your ride heights. It's going to affect, kind of your rake. It can affect your tire pressures. And
just the general setup, like you can oversteer a lot more with it, especially a prototype. Anything open wheel, anything lighter, as soon as you add the weight, you start to notice it more. If the car's already heavy, you notice it a lot less. Like in GT cars, I notice full tanks a lot less than I did in like an IndyCar or a Champ car or something like that. So I would imagine that they qualify very differently.
Get a nice replay of the start here. And Chris Wright just kind of takes off and goes. We're seeing the incident here from the 51 and the 40.
He gave him no room at all, didn't he?
No, he thought he was clear and he squeezed him, and then seeing one issue. Was that an engine issue or a tire rub on the one of the LMPC cars, and then we're watching that spin again. I was wondering if he was going by the car that was maybe limping a little bit because of the missing fender, and that didn't cause that exuberance.
Yeah, maybe.
So lots of spins, some parts on the racetrack, some creative lines that use some of the green stuff as well as the black, but so far their incidence has been for debris and then the one car on the gravel.
It does shock me how much rear lockup we've got. There's been always put gravel all over the track as well, which kind of sucks. But you would think that and it's always at the beginning after a yellow or after the actual start. So you would think that they would use more front bias in the car to start with until they got the heat in, and then maybe go to the rear if they're all having this issue. It seems like it's a pretty common issue, which means that they're just not getting enough heat in the rear brakes, or I mean, maybe you do it once and you learn from it, or you see somebody else's tire smoke and you learn from that. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's just an experience thing, and they're just leaving the brake bias as it is, and hoping that it will fix itself.
Usually, front lockup, flat spot a tire or two, and it's kind of annoying. But rear lockup will make it very, very exciting
on entry.
In the brake zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Chris Wright still your leader in the number 30.
Speaking of people that didn't want to see the yellow.
Exactly.
Is he going to do that in start and park thing again, where he parks them in the last corner?
This time.
He did, actually.
It's the battle's on for third. We're bobbing and weaving there for P3. Pretty calm though through the field.
Yeah, we should actually probably talk about the other class.
The other class that's out there, and.
Well, first off, we got to say Chris Wright once again set fast race laps. He's at a 22:45. That's again still half a second clear of the field. So he wants to see green. He wants to give his co-driver, who's also a very competent driver, runs in the ELMS in Europe and is over here doing this series with him. That's Claret. He wants to give him the biggest lead possible so he can just kind of have an easy way home. That was whenever I have a good co-driver, the plan's always to have them go out and get a big enough lead that not even I can mess it up. That's the plan. And,
yeah, that's a good point.
It was going according to plan until that yellow came out.
And there's a big discrepancy between the experience level of drivers here. I mean, I know that they're all either bronze or silvers.
Right.
But there are some really, really, really good drivers, and there are some drivers that have only done like 3 or 4 races. So it's huge discrepancy as to the level of the bronze or the level of the silver.
About 12 minutes till that pit window opens. And here's the question: do you dive right in? Do you do your change? I know some of the drivers want to spend equal time in the car, even if that might not be the most strategic plan. They just want the drive time. They're splitting it evenly with their co-drivers. I think you'll see a lot of these teams, though, as soon as that window opens, they're going to dive in. And that way, they lose some time. But if they get a yellow, they can catch back up while the other cars are sitting. I don't know all the rules there. I'm not sure if you're allowed to enter, if they close the pits. If you have to do it under green, or if that's the case, you'd want to be on pit road if the yellow came out.
Or if they open the pits, if there is a yellow, and then everybody pits at the same time, which could make life more interesting. Another lockup there. Yeah, I would think that as soon as it opens, they'll be getting their quicker drivers in, and depending on how much quicker their other drivers are, there could
we
be
have a melee down here at 5. I'm sorry, Catherine, didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, look at that.
We've got cars all over the place. It looks like 2 cars got together, and then 2 of the other cars following had to go around the outside there, take the long way through the grass to avoid.
That was an interesting attempt to get back on track there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And do we have ones parked here? Is this
so we have
out
the
of
one
view? I think we still have one more
that's
yet to get underway. That car I want to say was running towards the front. Is that the Matt Dickin car? No, it's the 25. Okay.
It's the.
That's Kenton coach and Joel Janko. Yeah, Joel I know is an experienced driver in the series, and then he's brought Kenton Koch over here this year. Kenton is one of the top drivers in these cars, and I know he was one of those guys I was looking for to get in the car to see where he was, see if he actually had a shot. So now Kenton's, he's in the opposite of the Chris Wright camp. He's hoping for a yellow here,
right?
And he wants one now.
Go a lap down.
It's not a lap down, so yeah, it doesn't have to happen now, but the sooner the better. Here's a replay. It looks like it's hard to say here.
So they did the old switcheroo. So he dive bombed him in going in, and then cross back over coming out. But that wasn't the replay.
That wasn't the big melee. I think.
Well, it was, but it happened behind them.
Yeah.
So the camera was following a light melee that was happening before the big one.
And they did touch and nothing really happened. So it looks like these cars are built strong, so you can actually do a bit of rubbing racing.
They were saying the splitter in this car is pretty robust.
Is that right?
So you can actually, you know, use the front a little harder than you might a normal prototype.
Well, we are just under an hour, 15 minutes remaining. This hour and 45-minute race. Chris Wright, the number 30, still our leader overall. And in the other class, we have Michael Schlemecki in the number 31. Was, I assume that's
Mike
Schlemecki.
Schlemecki, well done.
There you go, well done.
We were trying
yes.
to pronounce the names earlier, and some of them are not that easy.
That's right.
I don't know if that's right, but I think I sounded
good.
like I sold it. Yeah,
I
sold it.
You did. Yeah, as long as you say it
if
with
I do it, they'll
confidence,
yell.
then
If
it
you do it, it's okay.
You know, I've been called all sorts of different things. Not many people actually get that it's leg. You know,
Yes.
it's leggy. It's French or
Right.
you know, lots of different things.
Leger.
Leger.
Well, and
You have to say, see, when you say it with an accent with confidence,
Exactly.
you sell it. That's what you have to do.
You all know the names and you all know what the words are, but when you read them, sometimes they come out different.
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
Especially with my British accent, which apparently has dulled somewhat over the past 15 years.
Come on.
You could have fooled me.
Nah.
Yeah. I got a bit southern.
All right, so as you're looking, is it okay working?
Yeah, so we're watching a pretty good battle here for the LMPC. I think this is for the lead, but I'm not. No, maybe not P3. And again, it's got to be really tough for these drivers who are at the front of the field to mix in with the more powerful LMP3 cars that are just slow in the corners because the driver's not quite experienced, but then they get in the straightaway and they blast off.
Yeah.
So these drivers are trying to fight with each other, yet they've got to work through these cars somehow. And if one driver can kind of slip by and get through a twisty section, the driver who's stuck behind is going to be.
I know, and I've been in that situation before, and that's what you get with the multi-class kind of races, is that you can either make up a whole bunch of time or lose a whole bunch of time depending on how you get to the traffic, and sometimes it's not that easy to pass.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we're not seeing front lock up out of these cars, and it's just that the arrow of the car kind of sucks it under the under tray and throws it out the back and makes it look. Because I see a lot of the smoke, but I don't see the wiggling I expect to see from a car with the rear locked up.
That is a good point. Although we've seen a few go off in the brake zone.
I see a variety of different lines coming out of turn 5. And that's one of those areas where if you can get the power down and can get the jump, you can position yourself for a passing.
As we're seeing here, I think going into 6th there, they were side by side.
Yeah. Have you ever been too wide through turn 7?
No, never. I don't think I'm brave enough. Have you?
Yeah, I have. But you got to really trust the driver you're with.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Who was it?
I remember the Grand Andes would happen all the time. Craig Stanton and I would go too wide. Probably been too wide with Lally a couple times.
And I was going to say with Andy Lally as well.
We were always teammates back then. So if we touched the first race, we were teammates. The second one, we never heard the end of it. So we had to really be careful. The team owner wasn't too happy.
And Andy, the street border, what is it? The
street luge.
Street luge. That just amazes me.
Yeah,
it amazes me too.
I don't know that he has any fear.
Than me, yes.
He's still out there skating and doing everything now. I think he's just an adrenaline junkie. It must be because he likes anything that goes fast. And then he will lecture Spence and I on things that we do that may not be quite so safe. And you think, hang on a minute, you just broke a world record coming down a mountain on a skateboard.
102 miles an hour on a skateboard on your back with concrete walls.
Yeah.
So we have a really good battle here between Matt Dickin.
Right.
And he's going to be running, he's going to be getting that car to Corey Lewis in just a little bit. And then is that one of the Grants? It's hard to get a car number there.
Is that the
40. We have the ULD TV here in the booth, ultra low def.
Yes,
it's kind of hard to read the numbers, but
it is.
Yeah, the 40 and the 74. These guys have been going at it pretty hard. It looks like Dickin is really trying to get the car turned in turn 5 to get that launch that we talked about, and they're pretty much holding pace everywhere else. Now, you've driven prototypes a lot more than me. Are these drivers dealing with aero understeer? Are they getting aero tight?
In this car, I would have no idea, but yes, typically, you know, the more downforce a car has, the more it's going to push when you're behind somebody else. And that can also affect the tire degradation as well. You know, the tires can go off a lot quicker.
So we have a car in the pits now. Now, I don't think...
25.
Yeah, they are a second or two. They're just now getting to minimum drive time, or maybe in 5 minutes. So this has to be a drive-through maybe for a penalty? Or?
Well, yeah, because that was the Kenton car that just went off. So in that melee, maybe they determined that he was at fault for doing something, and that's why he does a drive-through. It looked like he did just drive through and exit, so I would assume that's what it is.
So insult to injury there, unfortunately. They were hoping for a better day.
Did that put him a lap down, or is he still on the lead lap?
I want to say he's still in the lead lap because we got another spin here. Turn 5 is a hot spot. If you guys are on the back there,
super slick.
You should position yourself to where you can see turn 5, because that's where it seems like all the action's happening.
Yeah, I remember turn 5 being super slick compared to the rest of the track on entry, because you're coming down the hill.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my! That was interesting.
They have spotters, right? They have radios. So that
maybe the spotter's doing that bathroom break right now.
Let's hope that they. I'd love to see a replay of that, but folks, what you saw is the gentleman accelerated and to spin the car around, and another car was coming into the turn when he did it.
He's in there pretty late.
Yeah. That was a dive.
Fortunately, the hitter gets spun, not the hittee.
Right.
The hitter and the hittee. Yeah, I like that. And it is a difficult corner because you're coming downhill and you're turning slightly as you're braking,
which
just de-weights the rear of the car and makes it easy to spin. But yeah, that was a late maneuver, and that was a very optimistic move. I think that was inevitable.
Well, I think that you hit on it. If you want to watch the action, you can find a place where you can watch turn 5 here at Barber. It's always something going on. And you brought up a good point though about I was going to bring up the the Porsche GT3 race, Cup race. There wasn't a caution, was there?
No, we went green the whole time.
And I thought that was very impressive, knowing when I looked at the 8.
There was good avoidance tactics there.
Yeah, we're watching the red car, the one that lost the fender early. I don't have a car number, but something spun him fast. Everything looked fine, and next thing you know, he's spinning. So I don't know if it was just a rear lockup or a weird downshift. Maybe the computer didn't do something right, but he was backwards in a hurry and lucky not to get collected. But yeah, we were saying we didn't have a caution in the GT3 race. We had a couple cars find the gravel.
Right.
I was wondering if there was a caution early in the race that I'm forgetting. Yeah, my AJL start to run together, I'll admit.
I understand.
Don't worry. But there was a couple cars in the gravel that we thought would bring out cautions, but they somehow managed to continue, which is rare, but it happens. And my driver wanted a yellow towards the end there. We just couldn't get one.
That was the Sean Rahal car, just another spinner. There are quite a lot of people spinning and getting away with it, which is testament to the track as well, and the layout of the track and the design.
Oh yeah, Sean Rahal's car.
Just went in super hot. Actually did a good job to save it from being anything more serious than it was, just over the curb there. I wonder, these cars must be built really strong to be able to withhold all that abuse. Running through the grass and over the curbs and everything like that. Normally in a prototype car, they are more delicate, shall we say, and you would rip off an undertray or a splitter or do some kind of damage that would then cost you throughout the rest of the race. These seem to be built like pretty strong and able to handle all this.
Yeah, that was Rob Hodes kind of taking the shortcut there in the car. He's going to give to Sean in probably a matter of minutes here. It looks like we're about a minute and 15 seconds from the pit window. They were saying the front splitters are tough. We kind of talked about that earlier, so maybe that design theme has been carried through. You know, we have a lot of gentlemen in the cars. We know we have people who are not really up to speed as far as what these things are like in the heat of battle, and maybe they're just a little more robust.
It would make sense. Honestly, you want to learn something that is robust, because you don't want to finish your race early because you went a little bit too much over the curve. You know, you want to learn from that and be able to carry on. So it's a great learning ground, for want of a better phrase, I think.
Yeah, the lockup action continues down into turn 5. So we have another spin, the same car, 2 laps in a row. That's the 44 now. I finally got a good look at the car number. That's going to be the Josh Hurley and Kerry Gibson car. They were the ones that had the issue with the oh, look at the, you can see on the monitor, the inner fender liner is actually rubbing on the tire, and the tire's rubbed a hole through. I wonder if that's not affecting some of the braking. Obviously, it can't be the best for downforce, but the way they've spun now twice in the same spot, I think maybe something more than just some driver errors going on.
Yeah, you think there's something up with that. So huge thanks to Shay Adam, who just texted us some of our questions that we didn't know the answer to.
Okay.
So she says the pits don't open under yellow.
Okay.
And even the one driver cars, which we haven't actually talked about yet. Some of the cars only have one driver in and they don't have that. Well, even the one driver cars have to have a driver out during the pit stop for the refueling purpose. You know, we said the driver has to be out of the car to refuel. Well, even the one driver, they have to get out and have a bit of a breather, walk around, wait for the car to refuel, and then they can get back in. 18 retired engine issues, and Wright hasn't had the same co-driver once this year.
Wow.
So he's been changing out co-drivers. I don't know whether he's not happy with them.
Now, is Shay here or is she listening online?
I'm not sure. She's one of the two. She'll probably send me a message.
Well, tell her I want to make sure. Shay, it's Rick Green. I'm saying hi. I'm very good friends with her father.
So Shay is a professional at doing what we're doing now.
Yeah,
so.
She's awesome. We're terrible. She's awesome.
No, she is. And if you know the lineage, her mother is a news reporter and anchor woman in South Florida. And Bill, as you know, used to be on TBS doing car racing and member of the Canadian Racing Hall of Fame. Spends half of his year in Canada and half in Fort Lauderdale, where I live.
And he was
that's how I've gotten to know
fantastic driver in his day, and
is that right?
Probably could still wheel around.
I would.
No wonder she is like the oracle then, because she knows, like, and she's so professional about everything that she does. It's you know, if you want to know anything, you can ask her.
Yes. Oh no, and my wife and I, we would go to Daytona for the 24, and I would see Shay out there making notes, working hard worker, and so she has really got.
Are the pits open?
I'm part-time. I'm a race strategist. Every now and then I've done race strategy, so I've got 100 questions about how to do this pit stop here that I probably should have asked but didn't think about it before now. Like, for example, she said the pits do close under yellow, but what if you're already on pit road? Is that not just a huge advantage?
She said she's watching from her couch and say hi to Rick. So Shay, if the pit's open, if you're in the pits and it's under yellow, that's your question, right? Is that a huge advantage?
Yeah.
Well, I would think because you would get out of the pits
maybe in a lap or two as
unless
opposed to maybe 3.
Unless they put the red light at the end.
But I mean, I wonder, my question to Shay would be, have we seen that come into play? Has that been a factor? And here we go, first couple rounds of pit stops.
Right.
Trying to get some car numbers here. Looks like is that the 87?
87. They got 4 minutes. Yep. So Jay Howard is going to be getting in that car. Another really super talented guy who's driven everything from champ car to, you know, you name it. He's driven it. Very experienced. Grew up racing go-karts with him. You can see Sean Rahal getting in the car down there now as well.
It looks like Sean has the fire bottle in hand too, so Sean's pulling double duty here.
You know, I once did a competition with some of the Lamborghini Trofeo guys where we said, I said I would be able to get out of the car, run around the car 3 times, get back in the car, strap myself in less than a minute, because they were saying how some people couldn't do the driver changes. And I ended up winning $100 from that.
Nice. So
Shay says, sorry to interrupt, Spence, if you're already on the pit lane, you may perform service as long as you've entered before the pits were closed, and the only time the pit exit will close is if the safety car is around the pit.
Yeah, okay, understood. Thank you, Shay. We appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Now, I was watching the Sean Rahal pit stop. I want to say that they put those dump cans in the gas tank before hose was all the way out.
Is that right?
Now,
is there an IMSA official there watching? Because normally there's somebody watching
I don't see an official, and I don't want to be the reason why they get a penalty. I don't want to call.
Is this gentleman right here with a Continental shirt on an official?
No,
he's
a
tire guy.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at.
So we'll see. We'll see if they have anything to say about that. But you think 4 minutes is plenty of time, but it is a long pit lane here. Oof. So you're going to spend a good minute doing that, and then you got to get in and out. You don't have to rush it, but you certainly don't want to waste time either.
And you see the cool box coming out.
I was about to ask you.
Down there. Now, what that means is that the first driver who was in there first was using a cool suit of some kind, and Sean is used to getting all hot and sweaty, obviously, in the different kind of races that he does, and he doesn't need that, so they took it out, so there's extra weight coming out of the car.
Okay.
You know, you get acclimatized to it, you get accustomed to it. I remember the first time I drove a closed cockpit, and I'm like, oh wow, it's really hot in here. It's like driving a sauna. But you do build up like an immunity to it, and you get used to it.
Okay.
And I think it's important with the people that I coach, I tell them, don't use it when you don't need it. Like it should be only used when it's in an extreme situation, because otherwise you get used to using it, and then when it is really hot outside, and we're talking like 100 degrees, then it's not as the same benefit.
Yep, we're seeing our leader pit now. Chris Wright, fantastic job today. Certainly was the class of the field here at the start of this race. He's on pit road. He's jumping out, and he's trying to get some of the seat padding out, things like that. Tires are going on that car. Looks like they're going to put some stickers on. And now we're just kind of relaxing, waiting for the fuel to go in, waiting for the fuel to get there. I think they also have to change tires separately from fuel, but they have plenty of time to do that.
With 4 minutes, sure.
Yep. So you see the rears going on. There's you're allowed, I think, one gun and one or two crew member over the wall.
So the guy that stopped at the end of the pits there, is he just stopped there because
holy cow? Guy just jumped over the wall and didn't look like he quite made it.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
You got one of the crewmen, but he seems to be doing okay.
Bless him.
Guys are helping him up, so.
Oh, his friends are they're gonna tease him.
Yeah, that's all it is. He's just gonna get a little bit of ribbing.
Yet.
And
no.
Usually when I do something dumb, I don't think of, oh, this is going to hurt. Or
no.
No,
the first thing I think of is who's watching.
Who's watching.
And I know that they're leading the race, cameras on their car right now. I'm not sure if we got that on TV or not, but either way.
Oh.
Famous for all the wrong reasons. So as I was saying, there was a car stopped at the end of pit lane. Do you think he was stopped at the end of pit lane because he hadn't quite reached that 4 minutes? And is that legal?
It's possible, and I know they kind of frown upon it, but it's hard to regulate exactly how much slowing down is legal and isn't.
He was like stopped. I mean, I can understand like crawling up to it, but being stopped seems like it would be a roadblock.
So for those of you watching at home and up on the hill, we do not have access to race control here in the booth.
No.
So they may be talking about that right now. We just don't know.
Yep. Even though I asked for it, by the way.
Yeah. But we do have Shay Adams sitting at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shay's at home. He's listening and telling.
It's like phone a friend.
And,
you know,
exactly, yeah, get in the answers.
I'm wondering if I'm having lunch with her dad on Thursday.
Yeah.
So, you know, as I'm sitting here, you talk about silly things to think about. Yeah. All right, so let me, while we're watching this, and I don't want to change the subject drastically, but what races do you all have coming up, or anything?
I'm going to be racing next weekend at VIR in a different series. And then the next weekend, we all head back to Mid-Ohio.
Okay.
I'll be racing in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge.
Oh,
we have a crash.
On the front straightaway, right down in front of the pits there.
Oh, my.
So this will, well, there's
one of
debris. He's actually trying to drive, but the left rear wheel is completely askew, so that will be tough to get that car to move.
Yeah, and the rear wing's completely gone.
But if he can get going, both the right rear, if he can get moving, I think we can stay green, because all that debris is pretty far off the track.
Problem is he just passed pit entrance, so
well, he can come down here and go behind.
And there are safe spots, like you say. Yeah, he can go behind the wall somewhere as long as he keeps it out of the way there.
Yeah, he's booking it. That car is crab walking down the front straightaway, but he's well offline, and he should be able to get it to a safe spot. If I'm sitting on pit road right now, I don't want to see this car move. I want to see it stay put. If I've already done my pit stop, I'm rooting for this guy. Come on, let's go. Let's go.
It's tough. Yeah, me too.
Safe.
And I don't know how that happened, but I would assume that he was just a little bit hot coming out of the last corner and got on the curb a little bit too much, and that just spun him around and into the pit wall there.
Yeah, you can see some skid marks coming off the last corner. It's exactly like you talked about. And it seems like a pretty decent contact with the inside wall. There's a lot of places you can go off here and not hit anything or hit something soft. Unfortunately, turn 1 is not, or sorry, turn 15 coming on the front straightaway is not one of them. He did make it to a safe spot.
He got it to the safe zone. Good job, Stephen.
Yes. So you were saying you're going to Mid-Ohio, did you say?
Yeah, I'm. The next IMSA race for us is Mid-Ohio, but Spence is racing in VIR this coming weekend. Another really beautiful facility.
Yep. That's what I hear. It's fantastic.
Didn't you grow up there? You grew up there.
So funny story. My dad met my mom while they were partying at VIR back in the 60s.
Is that right? And your dad used to race?
Yeah, my dad was a driver, but I think this was even before he started racing. They were both going to school at Lynchburg College in Virginia. And part of the fun things to do for the fraternities and sororities was to come to the Virginia Cup, which is the big race there.
Right.
They would all do things that I don't want to think about my mom and dad doing.
Right.
But that's so yeah. I grew up about 4 hours north in Virginia and went to school at James Madison University, which is about 2 hours northwest.
Yeah, my mom and dad met in a gas station.
Is that right?
Yeah, my mom was working there, and my dad came in for fuel. Apparently.
In the States?
No.
I was about because I would have thought it was. I would have thought it was because you didn't say she was getting petrol.
Oh no, so I've become Americanized. So what I have learned being over here, not to talk about the racing for a minute, is that people don't understand me if I use English words because they're not expecting to hear that because it's out of context, right? So if I say petrol, then they will look at me sideways. It's a bit like when I go into a restaurant and I ask for a glass of water and they say, "We don't have that, ma'am." And then you say water, and then they're like, "Oh, sure, we have water. Why didn't you say water?"
Now, unbelievable.
Any of their drivers ever give you a hard time about how you pronounce words?
Oh my goodness! So when I left America and I went back to America.
And what did you leave?
America.
America.
I know I put R's on the end. Spence gives me grief all the time for this. And he does have a valid point. However, I will not tell him that too often. No, I went back to Germany actually to drive with Audi, and I would say things like it's pushing, or when I get on the gas and things like that, and everybody would take the mickey out of me pretty badly for having my Americanisms, like gurney flap instead of wicker, or the other way around. You know, like.
Hold on, I have to go Google "take the mickey out of me."
Take the mickey.
Yeah. See what that means. So,
back to the racing, Spence.
Yeah. I've been watching the racing. You guys have been talking about crazy stuff.
We're going back and forth. There's not always a lot of stuff going on.
Now this is a pretty good battle though. We're watching the Mazda Prototype Challenge cars here fighting. I was trying to figure out what position this is for. Now it's tough at this time in the race because we still have probably say 60% of the field has made their pit stop, but there's still cars that have not. And remember, minimum drive time is 40 minutes, so
either
they get to, it takes a little bit of math here, but what is that, an hour and 5 minutes into the race, they haven't done that. And we're coming up on that, so we should see the last group of cars coming down pit road.
And that will depend on who's in the car. Like if both of your drivers are really equal, then you can play with strategy a little bit. But if you've got one that's a lot faster than the other, then you want to stop the sooner the better. I would say pretty much the sooner the better always works out because it gives you more options. Unless they're playing by different strategy for tire degradation or fuel load or something that we're not aware of.
Speaking of which, the 40 car of the Grants is in. I was talking to Keith Grant earlier.
That's what I was.
And he was telling me that he and his brother, who drove that car together, they've been within tenths everywhere they've been.
Is that right?
So it's pretty much a matter of just drawing a straw, flipping a coin. Yeah.
He's just turning it back around. He just spun, and that was his way of getting back on track, which is actually really smart, which makes me think that. Oh, that's Cameron Castles. Now, I raced with him in a Trofeo car in Italy. He was driving that. Really, really good guy, like solid driver, and obviously proved by the way he got back on track, which hasn't been the case a lot today when you've seen people drive back on track in front of other people.
And so I have him listed as driving by himself. Is that the case?
That is the case.
Okay. So I think we've seen that car backwards, and I was going to blame his co-driver, which she'd probably be happy to let me do, but that was
the other Cameron Castles.
Yeah.
That's my alter ego.
So as soon as these pit stops sort out, I want to get everyone an update on where everything stands with the racing and things like that. But right now we're at a point in the race where it's kind of hard to see who's leading and by how much and where each car stacks up because everything's in flux with the pit stops. I think we saw a car here. Is that the 88? It might be the 88 car of Mimo Gidley. I know he's jumping in that car. If they've already pitted, that would be Mimo.
What a cool story that is.
So they just got some sort of pit penalty where he had to stop and hold, and I'm guessing it wasn't Mimo that did it, but since they just came out of the pits, oftentimes he's the one that has to sit there in the hot race car. But yeah, talk to Mimo. It's great to see him back.
Right, it's his first race back in one of these cars. It's his first race, and he's done one other race in the Continental Tire Series, and then one in Pirelli World Challenge. So I think it's probably his third race back since his big accident, and that was a huge shunt, and everybody was willing him to get better.
Yes.
obviously he has, and he's back at it and doing what he loves, so that's really cool to see. So it gives us hope, you know, if it ever happened to us, that we could still kind of come back and be on the pace like he is.
Yeah, that's a really inspiring story. I was there for that race.
Spinner coming into the pit lane.
Ooh, wow.
He is perpendicular right in front of us on pit lane. That has to be a penalty.
Speaking of penalties, we were talking earlier about Sean and the fuel going in with the driver in the car.
Yes.
Right. I'm getting word from our secret spies that they're actually going to get a drive-through for that, unfortunately.
Oh, because of you pointing it out?
I hope not. Sean's a buddy. I would never hear the end of it. The race cars are loud. The officials have their headsets on. They can't possibly hear me. But yeah, I think they're getting a penalty, unfortunately. So we'll see that. And then it looks like even though it's good there's a 4-minute stop here for the 55 car. I think that's Lance Wilsey driving that. He's got to hop out. They're going to do the fuel, but
33 car.
But keep in mind that spin doesn't affect him. Right. As long as they can get that pit stop done.
It doesn't, but you would think that it would be a penalty because actually Shea says that stopping outside of your pit box is a penalty.
Okay. Right. But did he stop?
Well, yeah, he was perpendicular
right to it, right.
So just stop. He wasn't moving.
He was not moving.
Yep.
90 degrees.
It's usually the nose is out of the tail. It's too short.
Yeah.
He actually stopped with the tail out in the pit lane.
In somebody else's pit box, right in front of the Penske.
Yep. So it would be interesting hearing race control at this point, but we just don't have that capacity. So I'm only showing
race control. Can we text him?
Yeah. 4 cars that have yet to make their pit stop.
Replay.
Okay.
Comes in, loses it.
I wonder if he just was surprised with where his pit lane or pit box was. Yep. I wonder if the crew said, hey, right here, here.
I'm telling you, these guys have too much rear brake in the car.
Yeah. And we see the pit lane spin.
Yeah.
That really can only happen with too much rear brake. We're watching cars go off the racetrack. I wonder if that's a function of something that's wearing in the car or the fuel load coming out. Or if, like he said, the newer drivers just don't have the experience to make the brake adjustment, but then why aren't we seeing the front lock up? That would be my next question.
Right, because it would one to the other, transfer. Yep. That was a really good move.
Well, I am seeing an official down here now, I believe, that's standing at the back of the car.
How embarrassing, though. You know when you like spin on a warm-up lap or you do something like that kind of... You've never done that, Spence. Come on, you've done silly things.
I've been hit under yellow and spun.
Have you?
At India, on the Grand Am race. The IMSA race. Dumped under yellow.
I did under yellow in Fontana in an IndyCar, and I remember it because it was Justin Wilson in front of me. And I just came up to them as the field was stacking up, and I was coming in, like catching the field too fast, and I just tapped him, and it ended his race, and I was fine until he was down to the front. And I went up to him afterwards, and I was like, I'm so sorry. And he said to me, Catherine, I'm not mad at you, I'm just disappointed. And I was like, no, that's even worse.
If you were mad at me, I could deal with it, yes.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, so I've done some silly stuff. I've hit pit wall before in a champ car in Europe on the entry. It happens. Obviously not to Spence because he's like a whole other level.
Oh gosh, I have a litany of stupid things I've done in race cars. But you know, I drive the GT cars, which are much harder to spin. Not impossible, but harder to spin under yellow. These prototypes with the cold tires with no weight on top of them, it's like a hair trigger every time you touch the throttle coming out of the pit lane.
Absolutely. Wasn't there somebody went off in a Porsche at Daytona and hit the wall on the
on the formation lap. Yeah, that was a 58 car that kind of ended their shot of a good finish. I'm hearing that might not have been driver error. That may have been maybe something else going on.
Well, here we had, when we used to run the 2 series for IMSA here at Grand Am, we had a start in the series, the smaller cars. I'm trying to remember what it was called. They had a wreck before. They crashed. A bunch of people went out. We come back. It takes a while to get that cleared up. They go and start again, and they have another wreck before getting to the starting line again. And I remember talking to Mark Raffoff, who I ran down and said, "What happened from here?" Except we were on the other side. And Mark says, I said, so was that rookies? He goes, no, that's the people who are supposed to know what they're doing.
That sounds like Mark.
Yeah. Well, if we were smart as race car drivers, we probably wouldn't be racing cars, would we now? Look at that guy trying to get out of the race car.
Oh, Lord.
Is that Dave House?
I don't know, but it looks like it's going to take him 4 minutes.
The 84 car. that 84? Am I seeing
It
it right?
looks
Or is
like
that the 34? It ends at 34.
Was it?
Yeah, John Brownson from
So
Breckenridge,
if
Colorado.
he's the only one, he gets out, he jumps over the pit wall like that, he has a drink,
Yes.
and then he has to get back in again, right?
Yeah, a drink, maybe smoke. Comes back in.
Big Mac.
So yeah, I think we're waiting for 3 cars to pit, but kind of looking ahead here, it looks like the 30 car, that was going to be our pole sitter of Claret. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Claret.
Shay, help. That they not only have kind of retained the lead, but he's now reset fast lap at a 21:48. That's significantly faster than we've seen from the first group of drivers. So these guys are on sticker tires, and they have the full fuel load. The other drivers started on their qualifiers, so they had a good 15 minutes of good ripped off that tire.
And a heat cycle.
And a heat cycle. So I would expect to see these guys, being somewhat more experienced, be quicker, and they have a little bit better opportunity to go fast.
And the sun's gone down.
And the sun's gone down, yeah. The clouds are covering us just a little bit, which may be a harbinger for what's to come tomorrow.
Right.
And but certainly, again, I can't say enough about Chris Wright just got the job done. Got the pole, led every lap. He had really good
Handed
restarts.
it over to, say it again.
Claret.
So what amazes me though is these guys are doing their pit stop now, right? If you're a single driver, why would you not do the pit stop as soon as the pit window opens?
It's a good question to try to get the yellow.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
I've been thinking about it, and I almost want to think you're just gambling. You don't know when the yellow is going to come out.
Right.
Certainly pitting early would give you the biggest opportunity to get a yellow.
Yep.
But as long as you're in pits when the yellow starts, you're getting the advantage of the yellow.
Right.
As long as you're not out or just missed pit in when the yellow comes out.
I do see that logic, but it just seems to me like if you've done the pit stop, then
maybe you're waiting for a car to get stuck in the gravel and you can dive on pit road before the yellow comes out and then do your entire pit stop under yellow.
It's a lot of what ifs though, isn't it? I mean, it's planning on a what if.
Race strategy is all about playing odds. It's all about trying to figure out what the best odds are and going with that. That doesn't always mean that things are going to work out that way. I always say in race strategy, you could have pocket aces and lose to a 7-2 if the flop's wrong. But you certainly wouldn't want to go all in with the 7-2. You want to go all in aces. So you just try to play your aces in race strategy and hope that the better odds work out. There's no guarantee it will.
Right.
But I'd certainly rather lose a high percentage gamble than lose a low percentage gamble.
Oh, absolutely. And then I guess you can gamble more the further back you are in the field as well. Like you don't gamble as much if you're leading.
Yeah, you got less to lose for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at these, and some of these folks some of these drivers are getting out. They come in for their mandatory pit stop, but they get right back in the car. Physically, an hour and 45 minutes, really? Oh, please.
Oh, yeah.
Serious.
No, this is a physical track and these are physical cars. So, yeah, it's going to take it out of you for sure.
I mean,
we are all conditioned to it now. We've been doing it for a lot of years. So for us, it's probably not that big of a deal because, we're used to triple sprinting even, where we spend 3 hours in the car. But it's no mean feat by any way, shape or form to do that. Like you mentioned earlier, it is not easy driving a race car. I don't care what kind of race car it is, you do get beaten up. It's a lot more physical than people think it is.
Yep.
And so, yeah, they're going to be very tired and sleeping very well tonight.
And so if you're doing it at Sebring, the car's bouncing the whole way. My God, I don't know how you all even deal with that.
Slamming into the ground.
Yes.
Yeah, you get used to it.
So I promised the update. Two more cars need to pit. A lot of times, unfortunately, when we're watching here in the booth, the timing and scoring is updating all the gaps and intervals based on cars that haven't pitted being the leaders. So we can't really get an idea what the delta is between first and second in actuality because the real first and second haven't pitted yet. So they know we know they owe us a pit stop and they're going to pit. Right. So the real race for the lead is happening really in third and fourth place. But with them being 2 laps down now, they're just showing on the same lap, and I can't really get the intervals.
So, but it will straighten out once they pitted, and they're going to have to pit within the next, 3.5 minutes, right?
Yeah, because they're going to overdo their maximum drive time. Or so,
so they have to
No, they should have already pitted, if I'm reading this right. I mean, they got the 4 minutes of pit, so they won't be able to finish their 4-minute pit stop. Unless these are single driver cars, and maybe that's the case. These might just be single driver cars, so they don't have to worry about the minimum.
Okay, interesting. So do you have to have completed your pit stop before that time, or do you just have to have like gone into the pits by that time?
No, you have to make minimum drive time. So there's no pit stop window. There's just minimum drive time. So
it doesn't have to. That's 8-6.
So if you have an hour and 45-minute race, you can go a little over more or less, but you have to get 40 minutes in the car.
Yeah. So they're giving you basically giving you a pit window with the minimum drive time rules.
Right.
So
but only if you've got 2 drivers.
But only So what we're seeing here is these other drivers that are staying out leading the race now. They don't have to do that pit stop at any given time because they've already met the minimum requirement. They're the only driver in the car. They're going to make it. So they don't have anyone that's sitting on pit road needing to make it.
Again, why? Why did you not
just like I said, because one of the cars sticks it in the gravel as you're coming through 15, you dive down pit road, and you do your entire thing under yellow. That's the only reason why I can think of.
But then if you can stop at any time, you figure out how much fuel you've got, full fuel, right?
Yep.
And then you work backwards from that. So say you're then stopping at 20 minutes into the race, because you know from 20 minutes on, you can make it to the end of the race. Then if something like yellow does happen, you're at the front of the pack.
Yeah, but keep in mind, these cars have a 4-minute advantage on the rest of the field that is already pitted. So they're not losing time if they
don't do it.
Yeah, they're still 4 minutes in the lead. So if they can do that, 4-minute advantage here is what 3.5 laps. Well, they only give you 2 laps back if they do the whole thing under yellow. So they can get that lead.
Yeah.
So at some point, your tire degradation gets to be worse and worse and worse. Yeah, and so but I still think the advantage of pitting under yellow, if you can somehow do that. Now, keep in mind that there's a really small chance that someone's going to get in the gravel. You'll have the opportunity to pit before the yellow comes out.
It would have to happen in the last few corners just for you to be able to dive into the pits.
But that's the only thing I think that they're trying to do.
You know, maybe that doesn't go yellow, like this guy on the front straightaway.
Yeah.
You know, you would have seen him and thought, pit.
Dive, yeah, exactly.
And then it didn't go yellow.
But worst comes to worst, you still just do your 4-minute stop under green, like you would anyway.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense.
So that's those 2 guys running, you know, what could be good strategy or messing up our timing and score.
And they're both like, no, you pit first. No, you pit
first. I'll pit if you pit.
So we did talk a little bit about the weather, but it does sound like it's going to be a little bit wet here tomorrow.
So did you do a lot of races in the rain in IndyCars?
No, but I did a lot of races in the rain because I'm English.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm just saying for tomorrow, the folks that are coming back to watch the IndyCar race, you know, what's that like? I mean, that's got to be,
here
as a GT guy, the first thing I think is it's got to be wet.
Yeah.
You don't notice it.
And just sitting on the grid.
Yeah.
Sitting on the grid with the rain.
Visor.
That's right, change your visor.
Normally you have tear-offs on your visor and you have a dark visor, and if anybody's ever forgotten that and you go into a rain race, you can see absolutely nothing. All the tear-offs come off immediately, and then you curse yourself for not having changed it. And you make that mistake once and once only.
Yeah, I got you.
But you can see nothing. I mean, literally nothing. If you're back in the pack and it's raining in an IndyCar, you've got 0 visibility. You've got no windscreen wipers. All you can see is spray coming at you, and you're looking down at the white line just to try and see where it is. You know that you do have the advantage that you can see the front wheels, so you know that if they're locking up, you don't have to, worry about the ABS and all that good stuff in a GT car, or not be able to see them in a prototype.
Well, they're saying that the challenge for the Indy cars will be that you have a new aero package that doesn't have as much downforce, and that would add some difficulty in the rain because nobody's done it.
Yes, it's not that it's hard. It's just that no one has a lot of experience with this chassis and what the type of aero settings.
That was a position change.
Was that a pass for the lead?
I don't think it was the lead, but it were 3rd and 4th. we're not actually sure.
Yeah.
But he's pulled out a big gap after passing him as well.
You know, we could actually just time it for those of you watching at home that want to know the delta here between first and second.
There you go. Don't we?
To an old school.
Oh, he says, getting his iPhone 8 out.
Exactly.
There you go.
All right. So we're looking for the 30 car and the 47. 30 now. Is that the 30 going into turn 7?
Shay's such a star. So she says the PC cars with the one driver can go to their fuel window, which is, what we're discussing, how far you can go on a tank of gas.
Right.
Tank of petrol. So basically until the driver feels like coming in for a short break.
Okay.
I'm getting tired. I'm going to pit this lap.
All right, so I've identified the 30 car, and I think that's our...
It's the leader. Technically not,
it's
but
technically
it is.
not the leader,
Yes.
but we know the 2 ahead of us owe us 4-minute pit stop, so when everything cycles, this car will be the leader. So I'm going to do an old school timing trick here and just use a stopwatch.
There you go.
I like it.
Yep.
It's very logical. Typical Spencer compelling.
Oh, 75 is P2, right?
No.
Oh, I'll do it next slide.
Spence, did you just mess up?
I did just mess up. 47 car. Where's the 47? I can do it again.
74 doesn't count, does it?
Sorry, no, look at the 7 car.
There's an app, a race monitor. I wonder,
Boom. Okay, so we have like a 14.5-second lead now for P1 over P2. P1 is Jan. Jan with a Y, by the way.
Yep.
Not a J, as we are accustomed to in motorsport. And his last name is Claret. Jan Claret.
Yeah.
Shay's just sitting at home.
She's like, how did they get these two?
I know, exactly. And
we won't give up our day jobs, don't you worry, Shay.
Shay,
You're
don't
safe.
worry.
Your job is safe.
Your job is not in jeopardy. And matter of fact, I'm having more fun than I would have had we had to do that. The thought of doing this alone would have run me ragged.
Yeah. So it was TJ Fisher, who's a P2,
right,
in the 47. Sorry, in the 7 car. 47 P2, right? Yeah.
Oh, and he's teammates with the McCusker guy, and they are the points leader right now. So I would imagine that they will still be the points leader coming out of this race if they finish in second. Don't know that for sure. I think that's a pretty good gamble. I guess.
Yeah, pretty good guess. Okay, 86. Dave House. Can I tell you guys about Dave House? So I met him probably 30 years ago at Skip Barber Racing School.
Right.
He was an older guy back then, but he's still really wicked fast and loved racing and would get out there and mix it up with the kids. And 30 years later, I hear he's out here winning races.
Yeah?
I want to say he was the oldest winner in IMSA history when he won at Sebring in the Prototype Challenge class.
I want to say 77.
77?
I've heard that. 77. Give me a minute.
Wasn't Lally teammates with some guy in back in the Rollins days that was the oldest one?
RJ Valentine?
Was that RJ?
Yeah, perhaps. But,
he told me this story once, and I think it went in one ear and out the other. But yeah, he said that he was the oldest winner.
That's possible, but Dave retook the title of oldest IMSA winner. So good for him, and he just did his whole. He's one of the few guys to get tired. As Shay said, you don't really get tired. Yeah. I'm the oldest guy to win a race, but I'll just go, keep going. So good for him.
Good for him, yeah. Maybe that'll be us one day. We hope.
Yes.
That'll be awesome. How old is too old? Do you think?
He's a year or two older than whatever I happen to be. And that'll be the same next year. It just keeps getting older and older, right?
I don't know. I think I've got better as I'm older, just with experience, and I've calmed down a lot and everything else. I don't know what that point is where you start to slow down because your reactions aren't what they used to be. Or some guys, like Oz, who was my teammate in the Acura. He is going to be as fast as he is right now forever. He's just one of those guys. And some guys slow down. You had Scott, what's his name in the Lexus?
Pruitt. Scott, what's his name?
Scott, what's
Are you
his
sure
name?
you're a sports car racer?
Recent sports car racer. No, I just have a mental block on people's names sometimes.
So do I. As you get older, it gets worse. No offense.
Hi to what's his name's family at home.
Dude, I can't even remember my own family most of the time. What's your mum? I don't know whether that's because I hit the wall too many times and my brain doesn't work properly, or maybe that's the age.
So I'm just sitting here with my iPhone waiting for the 47 car. 75. 15.5. So our leaders opened up about a second. Yeah, 31 minutes. And some change left to go. And all the pit stops except for one have been completed. It's going to be not officially a flag-to-flag run to this point because of the pit stops, but certainly a dominant race up to this point.
Yeah,
from the number 30 Extreme Speed Motorsports car pole, led every lap through the first stint.
And that is ESM, as in the ESM team that run in IMSA series.
By the way,
You're
Dave
asking
House.
me or telling me?
No, I'm asking.
Dave House is 77.
77.
77.
There you go. I was thinking he was 86 years old. That's his car number. Sorry, Dave.
Oh, poor Dave, you just aged it by 5 years.
If we start getting phone calls.
But I hope to see him back when he is 86.
I think that's great.
All right. There goes Dave back on track. Let's see where he shakes up too. I want to see kind of get an update too on the PC class.
Just coming up on the 30-minute mark remaining.
You know what might be more difficult as you get older? It isn't like you slow down. Maybe you're still sharp as a tack, but maybe it's the driver changes.
Yeah, because you're old and brittle and just can't move.
Be careful. Be careful. People watch me get in and out of my Miata or out of my Boxster, and they always go, "How do you do that?"
Shoehorn.
Got it figured out.
How many minutes to go? 29.
47.
So just getting an update here to Sean Rahal running P9, but it's really called P8. Yeah, he's behind Corey Lewis. Start to see if those two cars are close together on track. We see some good battles happening. It's just hard to tell at this point if they're for position or if they're cars that are getting lapped.
We've seen a lot less spins now. The other drivers are behind the car.
Yeah, a lot less lockup too.
Yes, remarkably. So, how much time? What have you got?
Okay,
time?
so there's the Sean Rahal Corey Lewis battle.
Have you got a stopwatch on those?
Oh, it was at 15. P1, P2.
Doing an old school.
I'm doing an old school. He's 74 and looks like Rodrigo Flucker and Will Owen. Is it Will Owen?
Again, say it like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like
it's W. I'm just making all I have is the first initial. I'm just making first names for him. It is Will Owen.
Yes, Will Owen.
Okay, I was right. Yeah. So yeah, we're watching that battle here on the monitor. That's pretty close too. So while there's pretty good lead for our leader, we've got some pretty decent battles here shaping up through the rest of the race, and this is going to be fun to watch here. That's the 47 on the 52.
So that's the that's the points leader who's in second right now, or technically in second.
Oh no, okay, the 52 is a lap down. Yeah. Or more. Or that's not the 52.
They need bigger numbers.
Yeah, or we need HDTV.
Or we need, yeah.
Probably both.
I thought you were going to blame it on age, but no, it's definitely.
I have my glasses on.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Sean Rahal. Where's Corey Lewis?
17 car doesn't have to go to
And I apologize to all the guys in the Motorsports channel too, because I don't have the timing and scoring that can sort their class win. So I'm sure they're driving just as hard as anyone out there. But unfortunately, we can't really give them the coverage that I'd like to, because I'm not sure what battles are for position and what are multiple laps down. Okay. So we just had a pass. We'll see if this is actually for position here. 75 to 87 to 7 and 47 in order. So 7 and 47. That's your P2 battle right there. Will Owen and
interestingly, actually,
TJ.
Lewis is pulling away from Rahal at the moment by the tune of the battles.
Oh.
So I wonder whether Rahal has that damage that they got earlier, whether that's actually affecting them more than you would think. You know, we said, oh, it doesn't seem to be affecting them at all. Well,
Yeah.
this does make a difference.
So yeah, right here is in front of us. We have a beautiful view here of this wonderful facility here from the broadcast booth. What do we call it? The broadcast booth?
We can call it the broadcast
What do you call it? What is this, the PA booth?
Broadcast booth.
Broadcast booth, okay. But yeah, we can get a actually good look. We have the monitors in front of us, and we can actually look out the window and see this facility here.
Now I'm looking at the timing on my phone, and actually Memo Gilly and Kenton Kosh were the two fastest drivers that time.
Really?
Until number 40, who's in 40? One of the Grants Just actually the
21.4, the fastest lap of the race. That was with the sticker tires.
Right. Who did that?
That was going to be your leader, Jan. Okay, so is this car appears to be a lap down, but he's coming through. What is it?
Oh, that was.
We got some
squeeze
in, yeah.
And that's Wright coming down here.
47.74. So that was P2. That was Will.
I think that was really stupid for want of a better word, because he could get a penalty for that, and he could give up P2 and the points.
Yeah.
I mean, it was unnecessary. There was no need for it.
Yeah, once you're too wide, you got to act like it. And if you're too wide and you're on the inside and you're coming into the corner, you got to leave the car within an inch for your competitor.
Yep.
And
and it's respect more than anything else.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be raced fairly, then you race other people fairly.
And sometimes you'll win that battle. Okay, here we get another look at it. Oh, and now he's just way up out in the marbles, pushing his competitor up out of the road.
Did he do that on purpose, do you think? Or
I don't know, but either way, if I was Will, I'd be pretty
Mm-hmm.
upset about that, because Will gave him plenty of room to race,
right?
And he got kind of doored up into the marbles and off the track.
Yeah, I would be mad, because he has no point. Like, he's lifting out of it at that point. There's nothing more he can do. Yeah.
Yeah, it did. So, what's the car number that pushed it? Was that the 74?
I thought. Was it the 74? I thought it was the 47.
Car? Yeah.
Here comes 36 on pit road.
36. So is that his pit stop? Done and
That
dusted.
is. Yep. And we get back to normal time
Yes.
scoring.
Paul LeHay.
LeHay.
Out he gets, ready to refuel.
So under 25 minutes left in the race. And it's a 19-second lead. Now we can start giving you real updates. 19-second lead for our leader, Jan, in the 30 car. Led from the pole with Chris Wright starting the car. Seemed like a good pit stop, and off they went.
And actually, Lewis and Rahal were bang on target, both identical lap times that time, and significantly faster than the 3 or 4 or 5 cars in front of them. So I don't know that they'll be able to make a dent in any of that, to be honest. I don't think with 25 minutes to go, they're going to make up the 15, 20 seconds that they need to make up to catch the car.
Yeah, now Ben Waddell, you raced with Barry, right?
Yes, Barry is our spotter and driver coach / driver coach, and his son has been racing in, I think it was Formula 4? Was it F4 that he was racing in up until now?
Sorry, what was that?
Ben Waddell was racing in F4.
Yeah, I want to say he was racing F4 last season, and maybe at Daytona, and he's, I don't know if he ran this car at Daytona or not, but his father, Barry, has one of my early Skip Barber instructors, and he's
Was he really?
Yeah, he's done it all in racing.
He used to be like a super badass driver until he had his accident, and now he's one of the best spotter driver coaches.
Yeah, one of the best driver coaches on the planet. And now his son, he's got more of a linebacker's build, right? But he's got the love for motorsport like his dad, and he's making
really
a really good go at it. And so it's good to see him running in 5th. And lap time wise, 24.3. He's ever so slightly quicker than the 2 cars ahead of him. And if you can get that, that's Flucker and Owen. If he can get those 2 cars, he's going to have a podium here. So Owen was the one that got doored coming out of turn 15. He lost some ground there to Rodrigo Flucker.
But like 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah, but seems to have caught back up now and is within striking distance for this to retake the 3rd and final podium position with 22 minutes now left in the race. Question is, if he does get alongside, does he dirty him up like he got dirtied the first time? Or do you just make the pass and deal with it afterwards?
2, 3, and 4 are pretty close to each other. And then it's a big gap back to Ben, and then another big gap back to David, and then Corey and Sean are relatively close to each other, so that could prove to be a good battle in the end. But I think the real battle is going to be for second, between second and third.
Yeah, it's less than 2 seconds separating the 2, or less than 3, sorry. Separating second, third, and 4th. Yeah. Oh, and they're side by side going in. Owen's taking a look.
He's got him.
He's got him.
He made it stick.
Yep, and didn't have to push him off the racetrack either. Just
mind you, he did run a bit wide there going into turn 1, and he looks like he's going to have an opportunity to set him up around the outside, going back into 5.
We'll watch watching ever so closely as they come out of turn 4 over turn 5. Wait,
they're going to be held up.
Wait,
they're going to be held up behind these 3 guys.
Is that the... that might not have been for position. That might have been the 42 car that he passed. I'm sorry, guys.
But whoever it was, even if it wasn't for the position, they are catching the 3 cars ahead, and then that's gonna play into the gaps going forward.
Yeah, it's still showing
I think it's for position because they're
in the
really
74 ahead of Owen by 3 seconds there. So
that looked kind of
sketchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you keep your foot in it going over the grass, it's going to be sketchy.
Yes, that's the car of Rodrigo Flugger in the 74.
Okay.
That's the 3rd place car. He's got the final podium spot.
Right.
I don't think he was the one that moved Will off the track either.
No, it was the 47.
Yeah. Was it the 47? Not the 74. That's why I'm getting confused. There's a 47 following the 74. So apparently I just got a little dyslexia for the...
For those of you just joining us or weren't paying attention earlier,
Don't
maybe
listen to us.
I just no. I want you're listening to Spencer Pompelli and Catherine Legg, and this has been more fun than you can possibly imagine. Not only is the racing good, the commentary's been great. Wouldn't you say, Shay?
Not accurate, but great. Amusing.
This is like if we were sitting back in Atlanta just watching the race.
Yeah.
Just talking about the drivers.
Only we've been drinking beer.
You're not? No, yeah, there would be.
Well, hopefully Nate's going to buy you a couple for doing this.
Yep. Under 20 minutes now.
Right.
I'm going to just do this the old-fashioned way, just look at car numbers. The 31 car. Shomeki?
Yeah. Michael.
He might be our leader in the Motorsports Type Challenge car. And if that's the case, if I'm not missing any numbers ahead of him, he has a pretty decent lead over the next car, which would, I guess, be the 34, John Bronson.
Do you want to know a fun fact?
I do, always.
Clary, how do you say it?
Oh, Claret?
Claret.
Finished second at the 2009 in a Corvette GT1. So he's got experience driving a lot of different kind of cars.
Yeah. That is a fun fact.
Thanks, Nate.
Claret. Young Claret.
Another rear lockup.
Yeah.
Yeah, just when we thought it was safe to
I want to be
say
part
it
of
was
their drivers
over.
meeting. I want to be like, hey, you can do that.
We should offer consulting services.
We should, shouldn't we? Like instruct them, like, you know that knob that says brake bias on it?
Yeah.
SNL
if you
consultants.
SNL, like it.
20 grand a weekend, we can come and offer.
We can set your brake bias for you.
Yep.
Just
There you
saying.
go.
Just twist to the front, done. Do the
Turning
little
it the
hand
wrong
slapping
way.
thing, yeah.
We'll probably find out that they don't have a brake bias in you.
Yeah, exactly.
Stupid, and that'll be why.
Don't you think we know about brake bias, Captain?
Yeah. We're going to get so much great for it, especially the age.
All right, 74. Oh, what time is the score here? 7 on the 74. Oh, we got another one doing some off-roading coming out of turn 10. You call it turn 10?
That's what I do.
And I've seen different track maps.
Well,
usually it's all the same to turn 8.
Yes.
And then the question is that 7 and 8 with 9 and 10 being on the back straightaway, or is that 7, 8, 9, 3 corners by the museum with 10, 11 being on the back straightaway?
You and I have it. You and I have it the same mentality. If you look at their map, though, they claim there's 17 turns. I've always thought there was like 15.
Yeah. It's funny in car racing. It always makes me roll my eyes. The 5th turn in a racetrack is never turn 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then in England, we name all the corners.
Yeah.
So that makes sense, right? So Beckett's or whatever, and then you know which one.
Don't you have maggots too?
We have maggots too.
Maggots.
Maggots.
If you've raced in Utah at the track out,
I have never raced there.
They have it's a huge track, and they have a name for every turn. And I'm like, it's like a 4-mile track.
But they're
straight
cheeky
away.
names. They're not like
that's right.
Classical names.
No, they're not. They're not
named
classical.
after great legends of motorsport.
Right.
They're just named.
You mean there's not the leg curve?
Yeah, I want to be a Pompelli straightaway.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that the King at Road America should be named after me personally.
Is that right?
I should probably name it
Catherine
the
King.
Pompelli runoff area.
Catherine King.
Yeah.
Right?
He's in the Pompelli gravel trap. You know? That's probably that'll be my luck.
Yeah.
We got good racing here. As we're talking about ourselves, we're missing some really good on-track action.
Those three are having at it.
I mean, that's the pass here. Around the outside of 14, dive into 15.
Yep.
See,
and that's
clean
it.
and
down.
nice
That's
and
Will.
perfect. And now he's going to set it up. That's how it should be done.
Yep. Now Will's going a little defensive. He gets
Around the
Rodrigo to the
outside.
outside of 1. That's
Yep.
a tough place to make it work.
Yeah, because then you're going to lose a lot of time going into 2 there.
But yeah, he gave it a good shot, and he didn't
He did.
lose his position.
Now he wants to get the run into 5. That's what my thinking would be. But he gave up.
Yeah, he did give up a lot going in.
And that's here when you're going into 4 there. You've got to be aware that you're going to give that up. It's actually really close again, though. He seems to be really good under braking and then lose it a little bit on the exit.
Yeah. Jan Claret now 22-second lead, so he's continuing his plan of just kind of checking out ever so steadily. It's a good battle for the second and that last podium spot. It's a 4-way battle for 2 podiums positions.
Who is that that's joined the back of that battle?
That would be...
Are they a lap down, or are they actually in the... What we see here? Will Owen. Then it's Flucker.
Right.
It's not
Yeah,
Ben.
that's the
It's
40. So
not
that's
Ben.
Robbie Foley. He's actually a lap down, unfortunately for him, because he's looking pretty racy. And he's one of the guys who started racing in, I want to say, Mazda MX-5s.
Right.
And has done a really good job of making a name for himself. Showed up in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series, and now has been really competitive, dicey. Yeah. So it looks like
nice move. Is he sensible enough that he's not going to mess with that podium fight going on?
I would hope so. That's a 75 car. So the 75 car is not for position either. So even though there's a lot of mixing up here, it looks like there's only 2 cars really competing there for that.
And as we were talking about earlier, you get stuck behind some traffic and you lose a lot of time, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
Speaking of time, time's running out. We're about to be just under 14 minutes remaining.
Yep. It looks like TJ Fisher, he's starting to check out too. He was part of that battle earlier, but now he's gotten a nice little bit of a gap, and he's stretched that lead out. So he's 22 seconds back of your leader, Jan, and the 3rd place car is 28 seconds back. So there's a 6-second gap back to that battle for that last podium spot. And that's now Will Owen, who's kind of been up and down the field last couple minutes, but he's firmly established himself now as the last guy fighting for the podium and is trying to pull away. A 74 car, though, Rodrigo Flucker, is...
Yeah, he's surprising.
Surprising, and he's not letting go. He's every time he's had a little setback, he's charged back forward. And usually, in races like this, you don't see cars kind of come up and down the field. Usually the faster car pulls away, but he seems to be fast in different spots of the track, and he'll get back in the hunt and make an optimistic pass and get by. Or like we just saw
that.
Will slide wide and get out in the marbles, and he'll leave the door back open. So, as I was saying, Rodrigo, back up to P3 here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, comes by and moves back up to take that last podium spot. So I have a feeling the next 13 minutes and 1 second that decides this is going to be quite interesting between those 2 cars. And they seem to have lap traffic find their way into the mix all the time, to the point where we thought that was actually cars they were racing for position.
Right.
Is that the Foley car that just went by, or? It's hard to see the numbers. We apologize again.
He did a great job at getting out of the way there and not making it a thing. Normally your crew will tell you, hey, the leaders are coming by, and you know not to mess with that. And you try and make it so that they both lose the same amount of time, so that you're not like helping one or messing another.
Sure. Jan Halen's in that mix too, but unfortunately he's 3 laps down.
Yeah.
He's also one of the guys like Robbie who's kind of smart enough to know, this isn't
way.
our day today, unfortunately, and it's good to show that you're fast. It's good to show you can run with those guys. We certainly don't want to get in the middle of the race.
No, you want to just give them enough of a gap that they know that you're not going to mess with them, but you want to just stick it out. Yeah, and that takes experience and self-control and everything as well, because you want to go past them and prove that you're quicker than them, but
And if you're a younger driver trying to make a name for yourself, it's hard not to go show off the speed when you have it.
Yep, absolutely.
But I tell you, the people that are making decisions about who gets to jump in race cars are more impressed by the smart driver than the fast driver.
Well,
or at least in my experience,
and they know you can be fast. Like you look at it now and you know that Jan's quicker than he's showing, but he's doing the right thing. And again, it comes down to the respect thing. You have to have respect of your fellow competitors and everything, because you want them to race you the same way that you want to be raced. So if you do something stupid to them and you get in the middle of their race, then you know what? When it's your turn, it's going to come right back to you.
Exactly. Karma is a real live thing on the racetrack. Who's the 3-car? Waddell. How's he doing? Because I know he was
dropped back a little bit.
Yeah, he's still holding up P5. And I see B. Waddell, and I want to say Barry, but it's Ben.
It's Ben.
It's Ben.
Yeah, he dropped back a little bit. I don't know whether that was tracking related or not, but it was about, he lost about 4 seconds to that group in front of him, which surprised me because normally when you're fighting, you actually lose a little bit of lap time.
So look at Rodrigo is now actually opening up a gap over Owen.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen this battle ebb and flow. And
until they get to the next
bit
of
looked
traffic.
like Owen was just going to check out and everything was sorted. Suddenly he goes wide, Rodrigo gets the lead. Now it looks like he's pulling out a bit of a gap.
Yeah, until they come across another lapped car and then it'll all change again.
Yeah,
so
that's
20
the best.
seconds back to P2. It's now 22 seconds.
Yep. It is the best battle on the track now is the Owen Flucker battle.
Yeah.
And that's for
Ben's
the final
made the time back up again. He's that last lap was good. He's back to within 6 or 7 seconds of the group in front of him.
Now it's hard to miss that car. It's the bright green and black EMS color that we're used to seeing in the IMSA weather. I said that. EMS? Maybe
Is that a new team started?
EMS, that's the team that comes and bails us out after you end up in the Pompelli gravel trap. Upside down on your lid on fire. Yeah, that's the EMS team. Now the ESM team, yeah, we're used to seeing them dominate in the WeatherTech series. So if you squint your eyes, you might actually think that was the same car out there.
It does look similar. It doesn't have Patron.
Yeah, a little less tequila involved, unfortunately, but no one's perfect.
Have you noticed that we've spoken about alcohol more towards the end of the race?
I think that's a great idea.
As we've approached and gone past 5 o'clock, yeah.
Under 10 minutes remaining now, as we have 9 minutes and 11 seconds.
I bet there are a bunch of people up on those banks, you know, enjoying a beer and watching the race. It's such a cool place where you can just go and sit on the bank and you can see so much and you can just chill out.
And you know what I noticed last time I was here, I'm not sure if it's the same this week, but I see people with easy ups up on the hill on the top and just bring it. It's almost like you're at an SEC football game tailgate. You know?
I think that's probably one of the reasons this track is so comfortable, is they don't oppose that. You can't put it up high so that you obstruct the view of the people behind you, but you can set it up and the people leave it there overnight.
Yeah.
The frame. And when you come back in the morning, you will see those still over there.
So it's not the obstruction that worries me, because most people are somewhat sensible and they wouldn't do that. But what happens if it blows away?
No, they don't leave the top on it, just the frame.
Okay.
They just put,
so
they've claimed their space.
Wind and it ends up in
oh yeah, no, I agree.
That happened to Sebring this year.
Did it really?
Yeah, you were in the race.
I didn't, but I didn't see it.
You're probably at Marion's. Yeah, it was gusty that day and ended up.
You're saying my butt looks bigger than this?
That's no, oh my gosh, how do we get from here to there?
Oh my.
Saying you were relaxing as you should be between stints. We already talked about this earlier in the race. You need to relax between stints, Catherine. Let your co-drivers do their job.
Oh, dear. So, and there was an easy up that actually did.
I think so, yeah. I was driving home, so I shouldn't have been watching it either.
Weren't you doing strategy? I thought you were doing strategy.
No.
So, that's actually, it could be used for strategy. You know, you've got one of your mates in turn 5 or whatever with the easy up, and you think, okay, we're about to go a lap down, release the easy up.
Oh, and when the old NASCAR trick where they would take a piece of foam off the roll bar and throw it out on the track, and so they could say there was, I mean, I worked for a NASCAR team, and that was something that was in the strategy.
One of my buddies, Ryan Eversley, has a podcast with his friend Sean Heckman called Dinner with Racers.
I know it well.
Right?
Plug. And they're talking to Paul Tracy. And
he just text you and say, hey, buddy.
No, he admits to at Indy taking roll fun and throwing it out to get the yellow. Yeah.
Wow.
Speaking of Paul Tracy, I think he's here commentating, right?
Yeah, I heard him on the PA. He's probably sitting right. No, he's probably with NBC.
If he's here,
he's got HD.
He's got HD, yeah. and race control.
And race control. Legend.
Yeah, this battle is still raging on, as they say, for third place.
Yeah, it's closed. The gap's closed up a little bit again, right?
Yeah, it ebbs and flows. And, It's nice to see the prototype cars using that curb in turn 10.
So is Rodriguez just managing it, do we think? Or
So it's Rodrigo.
Rodrigo, sorry.
And his last name is Flucker. Stop laughing, Captain.
How do you spell that?
P-F-L-U-C-K-E-R. Let me confirm.
So is Rod Flucker?
It's Rodrigo. Yeah. He's from Lima. How cool is that? Did I miss a joke?
Yes.
Okay.
Never mind.
Over the head.
Well, the first day I was here, I didn't know how to pronounce his name, and I avoided introducing him because I was afraid I was going to fall all over it.
It might be
74.
Yeah, it's probably not that, but oh, big lock up and some wrecking.
Couple of them.
Oh, is that our lead battle? No,
it's not.
That's
Took me a second.
yeah, that's some.
There's debris though. That might
that
be
Corey
a yellow.
Lewis? It's hard to see. No, it's it's a 47 car. That's not our second place car, is it? Yes, it is.
No,
yeah, that's TJ Fisher.
Oh,
Fisher. Sorry, TJ Fisher falling back down.
Yep.
That's going to promote Will up to P3.
Right, and
Rodrigo up to
damage,
P2,
so
and he's damaged.
They are the points leader, so they were going to finish second, and then they were going to still be points leader, and now.
Oh, that's rough. Now he needs to get that car in a safe spot. Here we go, replay.
All right.
It looks like he's all by himself here too.
Car in front has
So
a
there's
front locker.
Yeah, but he's down on the bottom of your screen.
Oh, yeah.
He actually dives bombs a NPC car and spins. And then there's, I think the car behind was independently locking up.
Right. Well, you see the car in front lock up, and if you don't have the experience, you also.
Was that the contact there that caused the damage?
I think
it must have been hitting the.
He must have gone down the inside of that.
Yeah, the NPC car.
Well, he's just crabbing. Look at this.
He's kicking himself for doing that because there was no need for it. He had a cushion.
Yeah.
He could have just waited until the exit, and then would have been. I mean, we don't know whether he was actually alongside him and the PC car turned in on him or something like that. But you
with that, with that big of a lead,
risk.
Yeah. That looks like a busted rear axle or something.
It's a
toe link. And it's definitely loose. It's not bent. It's loose because you can see it. It's the variable toe version of the car.
Right.
Wow, that doesn't look fun. He's got to explain that to the guys too.
Yeah, that sucks.
Right.
Well, you're back to talking about. You guys were saying that it's, you can go fast, but it's being consistent, managing your time, not being smart.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a tough lesson to learn. But you hate to see that happen. But we've all done it.
Yeah, we've all done it, unfortunately. But you do it once. Hopefully that's
it.
Whether you learn from it is the key, right? But yeah, this is so unnecessary with 4 minutes remaining in the race at the time that you take a risk. Now it's race over, which promotes Ben.
Ben up to P4. That's right.
Yeah.
And the Grant's up to P5. Corey Lewis, who's kind of struggling earlier on because they got a little bit mired in the. Corey Lewis, who's kind of struggling earlier on because they got a little bit mired in the field with the early spins. He's back up to P6.
Oh, look. Poor Alistair McCluster was on the pit wall. Like, he was points leader, his head in hands. He wants Sebring, and he's like,
Right.
He needs a beer.
Yes, he does.
Sean Rahal up to P7. And Robbie Foley, actually, those guys are up to P9. I still think they're a lap back, but still not a bad run there for them.
What lap times are they running now?
They've all faded about 2 seconds off the fast time, so
24s.
We're seeing 24s through the field. Light fuel tanks, but
tires are
worn
pretty
tires.
short now,
and I think, too, at this point, there's getting to be less and less to gain as the field is going to separate itself. We're 2.5 minutes to go, so we should be expecting the white anytime soon.
And no yellows, like from the last half of the race. Well, from the 45-minute mark, really.
Yeah,
There's been no significant.
They've let them run.
Exactly.
It's been fun.
Yeah, your leader, Jan Claret.
Like saying his name.
I do. He just came by start finish. And he's heading through the carousel over to turn 5 now. So it'd be my guess with 2 minutes left, we will see the white flag.
I see the dude with the white flag getting ready.
Yep. The white flag is on deck.
Exactly.
It's being chambered.
see that it must be getting a little bit chilly out there because people are reaching for their jumpers, for their sweaters, as I should say.
We should get a Catherine Legg, like, translator, or just, you know.
You taking the Mickey?
Taking the Mickey.
Taking the Mickey.
I will write you a list then, so I'll text it to you later.
Catherine says
this, it means this. Remember.
Yeah, Shay, while you're out there, you need to make a list of us for us in the future for a translator. Although this has been great fun.
And she could probably do it. I mean, she's been all over the world with racing, so she could have an Australian one in case, you know, you get an Australian person here. Or
all right, white flags out. One lap to go for our leader, John Claret.
Yep.
Claret.
And Chris Wright, who's probably the most nervous person on the pit lane there. For the first time this year, I've been starting the Continental Challenge races, not finishing them.
Oh,
right.
I tell you, way tougher.
Yeah.
To sit there and watch your co-driver
bring it home.
Wait for the leader, bring it home, than it is to actually be. Was that?
They dominated. Like
they
Chris did a really good job, and then
yeah.
he gets in the car and he does a really good job. Like, so what you're saying is you have no faith in your co-driver?
No, I'm not saying that at all. That's still a McEver. Dude,
hey,
I would hooked up.
If you got in the car after me, I would have total faith that you were going to bring it home. Where
Thank you.
Yeah,
no, it's not even him. You know, it's all the other stuff that can go wrong when you're in the car. You don't think about it. When you're out of the car, that's all you think about.
Yeah, but that's why I have that problem where I sit on pit wall and I'm watching everything, the times and everything. Like you see something happen and it's your heart rate goes down.
Well, and you worry as much that the other drivers that are out there, they put the less experienced in the car for the last shift.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, usually the more experienced guys finish in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge.
Right.
Just like kind of we saw here.
Right.
Some of the more experienced drivers. This is it. To the pit wall. Picking up the dust.
Yes, here we go.
Give a little salute to the crew.
Checkered flags out. There's the winner.
Claret. FTW.
Yeah, nice job. Nice
really,
job to all those guys.
Both of those guys and the team did a really good job.
Yeah, that's extreme speed.
And I think they were one of the only cars that didn't have a spin or something, contact or anything, which just goes to show that consistency in racing.
Didn't hit the pit wall in the pits or on the front straightaway.
Didn't start refueling before the driver was out. None of that. No mistakes.
Yep, and that's what it takes. And P2 is yet to even be decided here. That's how far ahead they were. Here it is. Rodrigo Flucker. Will Owen. First and second. Ben Waddell coming in P4.
Yeah, great job.
Good drive for them.
Right.
Really great job. That was a good race.
Yeah, it was.
And especially for those of you out there watching everybody spin and the rear lockups a little bit. So, you know, people come to watch races for the racing, which means you want to see people overtake other people.
Right.
And you want to see action. So there was a lot of that in this race for the spectators, which is something that IMSA always provides, right? We are very amusing.
Yep. I also got to give a shout out to Mike Klemecki.
Did he win
He did win the LMPC.
And we didn't even mention you, Mike.
Sorry,
We're
the
really
MPC.
sorry.
I said the LMPC. I meant the MPC.
It is
MPC, right.
No, it's just MPC.
Is it?
LMPC is what races in WeatherTech.
No, it used to.
Well,
but
they still.
It is a PC
yeah, that's right.
car.
Now it's TPI.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're looking at.
No, it used to.
Well,
but
they still.
It is a PC
yeah, that's right.
car.
Now it's TPI.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're looking at, they refer to one class as P3, the other is PC. So yeah.
We're
you guys
all
all
confused.
know that.
Yeah.
You know what you're talking about.
Maybe I should go to a race once. But wait, I'm there every weekend. I should know this stuff.
Well.
All good. So we're gonna love you, leave you.
I understand. This has been great fun, and Spencer Pompelli, Catherine Legg.
We do apologize to those out there listening to us.
No, we don't.
We apologize for those that
if you were wanting us to be serious, maybe, but I think this has been a lot more entertaining.
If you wanted serious commentary and analysis, our apologies.
I'll call Bob Varsha, my buddy, and we'll get them. But this has really been fun.
Always a pleasure, Rick. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Rick.
Oh no, you're always welcome. And you got to tell me something that I can use on Patrick Lindsay tomorrow if he comes back and does the Porsche GT3 coverage with me.
Okay. Do you have any good Pat Lindsay's?
I mean, the obvious is his wife, but Lindsay. Yeah, but he already talks about that all the time. So
is that right?
Yeah, you can't tell that joke because he already tells it.
Ask about flying. He does a lot of flying.
I saw that in his jets and the likes, and he was a stockbroker and had a seat on the exchange. And at least that's what I took
and
it.
I think he's doing Le Mans this year.
He's doing WC.
Is he?
Doing the super season?
Super season.
Right.
Yep. With Jürgen Bergmeister
awesome.
in a Porsche. Yeah.
Cool beans.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right. Cheerio, chaps.
Well,
have a
folks,
lovely evening.
we thank you for joining us, and they'll be going down to Victory Lane possibly in just a moment.